Hey, how you doing? Hope you're well. So last week we managed to cycle 45 miles, and this week we plan on making it the round 50. Now, moving up on from 50, this is where it's going to start getting challenging. So like running short distances where you don't really need water, after a while you reach that distance where carrying water is a good idea. Longer distances, you then need some kind of snack, and then the really long distances like our Hadrian's Wall adventure where you actually need to stop for proper food. You're also moving away from that half day and all day territory, and at 50 miles on a bike, for us, it's kind of the same thing. So last week, 45 miles took around about 4 hours. So depending on the hills that we're doing, I would say realistically 80 to 100 miles is going to be an all-dayer. So we are definitely going to need to have some kind of refeed stop. Which brings in a couple of challenges. The first one being eating when exercising. For me, that's not easy. I just don't tend to get that hungry or even think about food until about 30 minutes after I've stopped. Secondly, cycling on a full stomach is not fun, especially when hills are involved. I learnt that one a long time ago where we stopped for a long round trip, stopped and I had some pie or something, some pie and chips, something really quite industrial. And we had to set off right under the base of a massive hill. And that was like the last time I had like a major meal, and then we switched to sandwiches every time after that. Third point is, of course, time. 4 hours plus a good 30, maybe 45 minutes for food. Then another 4 hours is a long day, especially at this time of year, where we're already kind of moving in a limited daylight. And that's only going to get worse until around about March next year. This means that realistically, 50 miles is about as long as we're going to get in one stretch, give or take the odd mile. Now, I'm not entirely sure how we're going to be doing those splits. Anyone that's actually got experience with this, feel free to leave a comment. It would be appreciated. But I'm guessing we're probably around, if we're talking 60, if we do a 50-50 split, like 30 miles, have a break, have something to eat, then another 30, we'll be fine. But we're moving on from that when we're up to around about 80 miles. I'm going to assume that having a 50 followed by a 30 might be a bit more practical. But then of course that brings into question the old 100-miler. Then does that require 2 food stops? Or do we just carry lots of food with us, sandwiches in the back? I don't know, hard to say. Now this ride, as you can see, is still in and around Leicester. So we've got some nice villages making the most out of the sunshine today. This ride also marks my second weekend and 14 days of taking a break from alcohol. And if you watch my very first videos on this channel where I talked about cutting down alcohol after Christmas, particularly a somewhat overindulgent Christmas where I was pretty much drinking every day, all the withdrawal and side effects that I had back then, apparently that wasn't a one-off. So put it in a bit more perspective, for the last 3 to 4 months, I've had a few drinks over the weekend, not what I would call drunk. Quite honestly, my body's way too old for that, and trying to improve my health in general is not generally too much of a good idea to do. I also have lots of other work commitments, which means I can't really entertain the idea of a hangover, to be honest. Cutting back to no alcohol, even from a limited amount of drink, I would say 90% of the time my drinking is well within the NHS guidelines of 14 units a week. But even doing that, it has completely messed up my sleep. I've literally been having nights of insomnia, which has led to me struggling to get up in the morning, just feeling tired as you'd expect. But exactly as before, when I was drinking every day over Christmas, day 10, I started waking up with headaches. And so as I said earlier this year, it's like a hangover that you don't deserve. Now I chalk that one down to the daily drinking over Christmas, or perhaps even a cold or some kind of equivalent at that time of year, but that's clearly not the case. But on a positive side, Just like earlier in the year, my HRV has also improved and my resting heart rate has actually gone down a couple of points. So there's definitely a message here from my body to not drink alcohol. So maybe it's time to either kick it for good or at least kick the weekly habit. And to be fair, going into winter is probably a good time for me to actually do that, as I'm mainly a beer drinker and the cold weather and beer is not quite as appealing as a sunny bench in the summer. As much as I like red wine, 2 or 3 glasses, it starts to taste a little bit off to me. So to watch this space, we'll see how my alcohol challenges go on over the rest of the year. Back to the ride, and here we have a bit of a cock up, which included a large chunk of main road, which was less than fun, though through the magic of editing here, it looks as though we're only waiting a second or two across this somewhat busy road. Reality was, it was actually like several minutes of waiting for drivers that can't use or refuse to use indicators for whatever reason. Now, it was a long old stretch, but this has been cut down in edit to make it look as though there were no drivers, no cars about at all. That was certainly not the case. Thankfully, however, we made it back to these country roads before too long to enjoy our final stretch. So, some stats from the ride. We did 50 miles, or around about 8 kilometers in 4 hours, 11 minutes, which increases to an average of around about 12 miles an hour. And we only did 684 meters ascent, so it was a nice route to actually increase our distance. So I'll leave you now with some nice scenes for a track that reminds me I still need to get some new tyres. So thank you for watching. I shall catch you in the next video.